Welcome back to the best division in football with your boys Authentic and The Beard. The best television show that you do not view on a square box. Timmy Foosball, I've been getting cease and desist letters from this man. He thinks that every statement we say on this damn podcast was created by him, but shout out to my dogs. Y'all know what it is. Big shout out to the gang in the building. We got a couple of NFC East games this week. Should be a really interesting slate. I keep saying that every week, but it seems like the New York Giants and the Washington Commanders just keep losing. And if they continue to keep losing, then every week is going to get a little bit less interesting. And we also got HBO Hard Knocks coming up here in December. And it just seems like with the losses piling up, that show is going to be more and more irrelevant. This week, we got the New York Giants traveling to Chicago to take on the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams. That should be a really interesting matchup. You got the Detroit Lions traveling over here to the DMV to take on the Washington Commanders. The Philadelphia Eagles on the road this week against Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. And the Cowboys are on a bye this weekend. Much needed bye for the Dallas Cowboys, who got some heartbreaking news today, this morning, actually, with the death of Marshawn Nealon, just 24 years old. He was a player that we absolutely talked about on this channel. A good chunk of our Dallas Cowboys previews and recaps, man. May his family, be able to find strength within this terrible situation. Is definitely not a good vibe in Dallas right now. So our condolences go out to Marshawn Nealon and the whole entire Dallas Cowboys community. I know that one's definitely going to be a tough one. But without further ado, let me bring on the best co-host in the country, my brother from another mother. Shout out to my Dukes. The Beard is in the building. Beard, it's been a tough season. It's been a really tough season. I haven't talked to you since the Jaden Daniels injury, prime time. How are you feeling about your Washington Commanders moving forward? How are you feeling about the way that the NFC East is shaping up, as far as the Philadelphia Eagles being the front runner and the other three teams within the division really can't buy a W to get that second place spot right now?
Well, I did just get back from tryouts for wide receiver for the Washington Commanders. We lost.
You taking over for your dog,
Luke McCaffrey?
Not Luke McCaffrey.
Well, he's gone too.
I was thinking about the dancing R&B superstar, Chris Brown. There you go.
Yeah. So listen, it was a rough game. I don't really know what else to say. Everything is not working. Nothing is working defensively, offensively. And there's a lot of people pointing fingers, and we kind of had an idea that this was a possibility. We talked about this the first show of this season on Authentic and the Beard. There was a possibility where this team was just not going to perform the way that it did last year. There was a lot of things bounced their way last year. We didn't have the injuries, a lot of, last-second victories, the fourth-down conversions, Jaden Daniels, magical season. So there's a lot of things that could happen and go the other way, and that's just what's happening, and it's hard to win football games when you're losing wide receiver 1 for 90% of the season.
Yeah.
Wide receiver 2 or 3, whatever you want to put. Noah Brown hasn't even stepped on the damn field. Right.
Been on IR
you lose both of your top D ends. You lose your number 3 D end. You lose your safety.
Running back 1, really.
Yeah, running back 1. You trade away Brian Robinson, which I was against.
Yeah.
Nothing against Bill, but Brian Robinson, we talked about how many times last year this offense ran through Brian Robinson. It might not have been the biggest numbers, and you could have possibly upgraded, but we talked about a lot of that last season. And it's just we're hurting, and it's not an excuse, it's a fact, right? The depth chart is bare right now. We were holding on to strings with our starters. So to go into the backups, and now you lose Luke McCaffrey. Now you lose Marshawn Lattimore, which, You hate injuries on guys, but maybe it was time to move on from him. And so then it kind of goes on to Adam Peters. You gave up all this capital for Marshawn Lattimore. I'm not mad at Adam. Whoa, geez. I'm not mad at Adam Peters. I'm a little upset in general. I'm not mad at Adam Peters, though, because the NFL is so hard. And when you're that close to the Super Bowl, and your team is playing like it is, you take those swings.
Yeah,
right.
You got to be willing to miss on those swings. And you look at Deebo Samuel; it's kind of the opposite of the Marshawn, Lattimore situation there. So every player that a GM brings in is not going to pan out. But I have noticed across y'all fan base and my fan base, the blame. It's fans always want a finger. They just want something to point
Shout
at.
out to Paulie. The streets need a body.
Yeah, I don't know about in y'all situation. Y'all gave the streets 100 bodies already to IR and the injury report. But for the New York Giants, I mean, I do think that somebody is going to be accountable for this. But at the end of the day, sometimes things just go wrong, and I don't look at it as excuses. When you're detailing facts that are happening around these two teams with the New York Giants and with the Washington Commanders, the injuries are just there. And for us, it's been the same story every season. The injuries have always piled up against the New York Giants, but this year in a major way. Now, in my opinion, I think the New York Giants are basically cooked 2-7 here entering Week 10. Would you say the same for the Washington Commanders as far as the playoffs go right now, or do you think that there's a shot that after the 4-game losing streak, they could maybe make a run here and maybe get themselves back into the conversation?
You know me, right? I'm a type of guy where if you're down 14 with a minute 30 left, touchdown, onside kick, touchdown. Like,
I saw the tweet before we went live for the preview show. No mock drafts, no
mock drafts,
talk.
no tank talk from the beard. No, like now in a mathematical standpoint, no, we're not cooked. Is it very difficult? Yes, 6% chance, I think. And the schedule is not helping us very much. No Jaden Daniels probably for at least a majority of the games that are left. Fortunate for us, the injury is not as bad as it looked initially. So there is a chance, there's a hope. There is one thing about this team that I noticed from last year, and even in games when they're losing or when they don't look like they should be they should have a chance to win. They tend to play hard.
Yeah.
It's it may not look like it to the normal casual viewer, right? Because you see the scoreboard and you see them get beat on big plays and stuff like that. But there's never really a sign of quit in this team. And so, like, for me, I feel like knowing that I have to hold on to hope, because I've always been in the mindset of all you got to do is go on a run. All you got to do is get in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Like, if bodies start to come back, if maybe they make some changes and shifts in personnel, there's a chance. But realistically, based upon the sheer amount of injuries, the schedule, the losses within the conference, you're pretty much cooked, right? But, a quarterback can go down for a team in front of you. A running back can go down, a wide receiver. What has happened to you can happen to somebody else, and they can go on a complete downfall.
Y'all needed to happen to a couple of somebody else's, to be honest.
Listen.
Guys are sitting pretty far. But I think getting back to quarterback could be the thing that could really change this season around. And I know it. There's not a lot of details out right now, but I did hear Kurt Warner talking about when he had that same injury, when he had came in as a substitute quarterback for the first game. I want to say it was for Matt Leinart. He was talking about it, where he dislocated his elbow. And it was on the non-throwing arm as well. And he came back the next week, which is crazy. And he talked about how he was handing the ball off with the opposite hand when he was having to hand it off to his right, where you would normally use your left hand. He was like spinning the arm around. And he did that for basically the next 4 to 5 weeks, he said. I don't expect Jaden Daniels to be back, maybe that soon or anything like that within a couple of weeks. But, if you guys can tread water until he gets back, then I think maybe there's a possibility. But this game this week, super important, man. Like, if you lose this game to the Detroit Lions, and I do think that there is an opening here for you guys to win the game. But if you guys lose this game, I think, then we can basically put the last nail in the coffin for the Washington Commanders.
And shout out to Kurt Warner. A lot of Kurt Warner talk in the Commanders community off of his statements about Jaden Daniels. And I think, look, I just briefly touch on this. I think that there's absolutely nothing wrong with what Kurt Warner said about Jaden Daniels. I think a lot of what he said when he broke down the tape, and it's true, and just because Jaden Daniels isn't performing the way that he was last year, he's not seeing the field the same way. That is true. And that doesn't necessarily mean the sophomore slump is such a cliche thing that a lot of people don't know how to necessarily use in the proper context. Yep. It's tough to have the same performance you did last year when you're throwing the ball to Chris Brown, right? Like, that's just that's a fact. But that doesn't take away from the fact that Jaden Daniels is not seeing the field the way that he was. It's a lot of these things can be true both at the same time. So for Commanders fans who are watching this and then listening to this, make sure that you don't take that personally. He's not attacking your quarterback, right? Jaden Daniels is still an elite talent. Jaden Daniels can still be a top 5 quarterback in this league. There's no doubt about that in my mind. And I think in a lot of people's minds, professionals who do this for a living, okay? But that also doesn't mean that he can be having a bad year, even though he's only thrown 2 picks and he has 8 touchdowns and 1,100 yards in what feels like 4 games, but it's a lot of this can be facts at the same time.
Yeah, that's definitely a fact. I encourage people to not be a prisoner of the moment. You look at even with Caleb Williams, who we're playing against this week, it's not 2 totally different quarterbacks from last year to this year, but just those little nuances of getting over the top and getting those W's are absolutely changing the narrative around the conversation. And I look at Caleb Williams as one of the quarterbacks who is overly, scrutinized, like for really no reason. Like came in as a rookie, played well, and just all the surrounding hoopla around him being this generational talent and not necessarily coming into the league and looking like I don't know, just some great rookie quarterback. Let's say like a Justin Herbert. People automatically want to put that kid in a certain box. But let's get off into that game right off the bat. Looking forward to talking about your Commanders matchup, but let's start off with the New York Giants here, who will be traveling to Chicago to take on the Chicago Bears.
From the jump. In New York City right now is Cam Stanford.
It's too beautiful out here, wasting opportunity. Come on, inside the tone for the first out. Just go ahead. Let's go and fight for each other. Here we go.
Drive from 15 yards out in his first start gives the Giants the lead.
That's a God.
That is our fucking guy, man. Jackson Dart. And the New York Giants sitting at 2-7, going to be taking on the Chicago Bears, who are sitting at 5-3, much improved from last year. Kickoff is Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bears by 4.5. And I do like the spread. I think it's pretty fair, especially with the Chicago Bears at home, getting 3 to home, and the over-under being 47. Last week, the New York Giants lost to the San Francisco 49ers, 34-24, in a game where it was a bit of a larger margin than the score might indicate there. The Bears beat the Cincinnati Bengals in a true boat race, barn burner, crazy ending game, 47-42. And the last meeting, the Giants did beat the Bears 20-12 in New York. That was back in 2022 when the New York Giants ultimately ended up in the playoffs with Daniel Jones at the quarterback position. This is the first meeting between these two teams in a good long while here since 2022, but 100 years ago is when they had their first matchup. That's how old these two damn teams are. Two of the original teams here. The Giants won the previous matchup, but the Bears have won 3 of the last 4. 3 of the last 4 have also been decided by 1 score. And I expect this game to be pretty close. I feel like the Bears have played a bit up and down this year. Their offense has been a little bit inconsistent, but the Giants are coming into Week 10 on a 3-game losing streak. Lost to the Broncos, lost to the Philadelphia Eagles, lost to the San Francisco 49ers last week. And the Giants have allowed at least 33 points in all 3 of those losses. I tweeted out a tweet the other day saying that as soon as Paulson Adebo and Javon Holland went down with injuries, there is no denying it. You can maybe speak on their play and whatever opinions you might have had on those 2 guys' play. But when those 2 guys went out of the lineup, the New York Giants defense completely started to crumble. The Bears have won 5 of their last 6 games, with their only loss coming to the Baltimore Ravens in Week 8 in that stretch. And between these 2 teams, the home team has won 7 of the last 8. And that's definitely not a good look. It's looking like Paulson Adebo's probably not going to be out there for this game. He did not practice this week, along with Darius Muasau. Chauncey Golston, who has not practiced basically all year long. John Michael Smith still dealing with an injury. Jermaine Illuminor still dealing with an injury. And Marcus Bowe came in for him last week, had a mixed bag performance. Some good, I'd say more bad in that performance. Bo Collins and also Brian Dable, when he was listing the injury report just yesterday, or I think it was the day before that, he conveniently forgot to mention that Graham Gano is also on the injury report as well.
Snipe.
Snipe,
Pew,
because
pew.
the Giants have definitely had their issues at the kicker position. But more importantly, I think going up against this Bears offense is going to be a major challenge. The Bears are a pretty good offense this year. They're 6th in points per game, 4th in yards per game, 4th in yards per play. They're top 10 on third down, converting on 42.8% of their third down opportunities. And most of the damage gets done on the ground. They're top 10 in run play percentage. They're top 10 in yards per carry. They're top 10 in rushing attempts per game. And most importantly for them, and probably most important for us, they're top 10 in rushing yards per game. They're actually second in the NFL, 144.4 rushing yards per game. And Caleb Williams is having a solid year, 12 touchdowns, 4 picks, quarterback rating of 93.5, does not have a multi-interception game all year long. And that kind of dates back to last season as well. And most importantly, I think, for Caleb Williams this year is he's not taking those unnecessary sacks as much as he did last year. The number one thing that stands out under Ben Johnson is the sacks. Caleb Williams took 68 sacks last season. That is absolutely ridiculous.
Patrick Ramsey levels there.
It's up there. It's Randall Cunningham-like. And through 8 games, he's only been sacked 14 times. So he's cleaning that up in a major way. But what I've noticed when I was doing some research on his games is that he has feasted on weaker defenses. The Washington Commanders being one of them, but he didn't feast quite Thanksgiving feast like he did against the Cincinnati Bengals a week ago. 20 of 34, 3 touchdowns, 280 yards. And then against the Dallas Cowboys, who are also one of the weaker defenses in the league, he was 19 of 28 for 298 yards and 4 touchdowns through the air with a quarterback rating of 142.6. Those are his only 2 games with a rating over 100 this year. So in my opinion, it's kind of inflating the stats a little bit. Second and third down are going to be super important in this game. Caleb Williams, we knew, coming out of USC, he liked to play hero ball a lot, and he's doing that a lot on second and third down this year. His yards per carry on second down jump up 3 yards. He's averaging 3.6 yards per carry, but on third down, it jumps up to 6.3 yards per carry. His second down completion percentage, though, falls from over 63 to under 56. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. And the Giants' third down defense has not been all that great. The Giants' defense has just been absolutely pathetic the last 3 weeks here. Injuries are definitely piling up, but that's no excuse here. I think it'll be it's going to be extremely important to get pressure on Caleb Williams in this game. Brian Burns has been a man on fire. We've been saying that for a couple of weeks. He leads the NFL right now in sacks with 11. Brian Burns is the first player since 2018 with a sack in 8 of his first 9 games of the season. Danielle Hunter's the only other player that has done that in that stretch. Brian Burns, this statistic came out right before we went live. I saw PFF put this out, and I thought that this was absolutely incredible. He has more sacks than 10 edge rooms in the NFL right now. That's the entire pass rush department from the outside that Brian Burns has more sacks than all of 10 teams this year. He also has 14 TFLs, which is second in the NFL. I'm almost wanting to come up with a new nickname for Brian Burns. I've been calling him Man on Fire the last couple of weeks. I think moving forward, I'm going to call him The Example, because the New York Giants don't have another guy like that on defense. And Brian Burns is literally the example of how all these players should be playing, but they are not playing that way so far. Brian Burns right now has more than half of the sacks for the New York Giants. Giants only got 21 sacks on the season. That's 16th in the NFL. Just imagine if you removed Brian Burns away from that. Kayvon Thibodeau is second in sacks for the New York Giants, and he only has 2.5. Dexter Lawrence had 2 sacks in the last matchup against the Chicago Bears in 2022. He's got 0 sacks on the season. This, in my opinion, is unacceptable. You got 4 first-round picks up front, and the Giants right now are pressuring quarterbacks on just 33% of their dropbacks, which is 21st in the NFL.
Sounds very familiar, by the way. I'm just going to throw that out there. This is very Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Daron Payne, Allen.
With the 4 first-rounders.
Yeah, it's
not getting the results. You know what the difference was with you guys is I felt like y'all had the archetype, right? Like that we wanted. I don't want 2-speed edge rushers, or 3. You could even say that if you add Abdul Carter to the mix. I want the power guys. I want the traditional defensive end to be paired with these guys. And I'm afraid that because they've already spent so much draft capital up front that they're not going to be willing to invest in this defensive line anymore. And they're just going to expect the results. The Giants just got to get after the quarterback.
It's almost like running backs. We talk about that a lot of times with running backs, right? Like you need that complementary power to speed sort of ratio in the backfield with running backs.
Absolutely.
That's a very interesting point that I don't think a lot of people talk about enough is having that sort of complementary speed power with your edge guys. I think more people think about that with the middle of your defensive line and your outside, right? Like you want your power in the middle, speed on the edges, but it's kind of important to be able to have that flexibility on the edges. And not a lot of people talk about that.
It is, and I think it's putting our defensive coordinator in a tough situation where a lot of fans are asking for more blitz, but when you look at the blitz numbers from the New York Giants, they're basically dead middle of the pack right now, so they're blitzing at a pretty average rate. I just think that they need their dogs up front to turn these pressures into sacks because the Giants are getting pressure on quarterbacks. I mean, they are top 15 in pressure rate, top 15, and they're top 10 actually in pressures on the season. But I think the big elephant in the room when we talk about archetype is a big reason why the Giants can't stop the run. You don't got these big dogs up front. You got a bunch of lean guys that like to get to the outside, kind of do the motorcycle lean to the outside to try to get to the quarterback, and not necessarily finding ways to fill gaps when we're talking about rushing lanes. But I do think Brian Burns has been doing a good job of that. But this is going to be the number 2 rushing offense going up against the 31st ranked rush defense. And that's the biggest part that worries me. I know we kind of overemphasize RTDB and STDR over on this channel, but this matchup in particular, I feel like the Chicago Bears are, with DeAndre Swift, running the ball better than a lot of people had anticipated. And I think a lot of people wrote off DeAndre Swift, myself included, thinking that when he left the Philadelphia Eagles, the Eagles were willing to allow him to leave because they felt like he was not an upper echelon running back in this league. But I think that he has been proving that narrative to be wrong. The Giants' rush defense right now is allowing 150 yards on the ground per game. Over the last 3 games, it's 192.3 rushing yards per game. Both those numbers are 31st in the NFL. You're talking about almost allowing 200 yards on the ground per game over the last 3 games. And they're allowing 6 yards per carry over those last 3 games as well. The other thing that worries me about the Giants and the way that they're approaching the run is teams are having massive success with explosive plays. I'll start by talking about it in the rushing department, but the New York Giants have allowed more explosive runs than every team in the NFL right now, bro. 43 explosive runs on the season. The next couple of teams are pretty close, but again, I feel like we're putting Shane Bowen in a juxtaposition, and it's not like I'm sitting up here telling you guys that I'm a huge supporter of Shane Bowen, but when you have these front 4 first-rounders up there and they're not doing a good job of stopping the run, and you have all of these injuries piling up on the back half of this defense, especially at inside linebacker, I think the Giants are really running out of options and running out of answers to stop the run. And they're also using a light box versus the run on 45.7% of their defensive snaps. So that goes to show you that they have faith in the front 4. But that's the 9th most light boxes in the NFL. So I do think that Shane Bowen's going to have to get away from his DNA and from his instinct, you know? And that's when teams, or that is when a team has 6 or fewer in the box. So basically 50% of the time, the New York Giants have 6 or fewer in the box, relying on their front 4. Again, Brian Burns with the TFLs, he's got 14 on the year. The next man up has 6. And then Kayvon Thibodeaux, and the next man up's a defensive back. So to me, that doesn't stand out that much. It's Drew Phillips.
That's not a good thing either.
It's not a good stat to be supporting my team here, but I just don't know where the Giants are going to try to find an option to try to stop the run. I think that if they could possibly get back Javon Holland in this game, and if he's healthy, it's not looking like Paulson Adebo will be out there, but Javon Holland would be a great step in the right direction. With the games where Javon Holland and Paulson Adebo have missed, in 3 of those 5 games, we're talking about, or 2 of those 5 games, we're talking about teams rushing for over 140 yards against the New York Giants. So I know that it is important to get Javon Holland back in this lineup. For those of y'all in the chat that got a chance to see the compilation of Tyler Nubin against outside runs that we compiled this past week, Beard, I don't know if you got a chance to look at that.
It's bad.
It's bad, bro. It's it eerily reminded me of Serge a little bit at Einstein when they first moved him to free safety, and he just didn't want to tackle. But I understood that because he was our starting quarterback.
Yes.
But this is a NFL caliber safety here that is just unwilling to get gritty and put his nose in there and make some tackles. I mean, I don't think there was one tackle in the entire compilation. It was just a guy that was just out there just running around trying to look like, hey, I'm out here trying to do my job. But the eye in the sky does not lie. And before I get off into talking about some takeaway stuff and some giveaways on some Oprah Winfield vibes or Winfrey vibes, I'm sorry about that. What are your thoughts about this matchup with the New York Giants? Obviously, stopping the run is a big thing here, but what are you seeing? Do you maybe see anything that can convince me otherwise that the Giants could possibly come out here and win this game?
Well, it's interesting because at the top of my notes is stuff about some turnover differential. So I'll move that to the back of the list here to give us a nice transition back to authentic. But
Love that.
listen, the rushing, and they got Montague going last weekend without DeAndre Swift for the Chicago Bears. So now you got two running backs here for Chicago that they can. Because, as a rookie, they're kind of been easing him in a little bit. So now to have that sort
Where
of
was he
dual,
from? Was he from Rutgers?
I want to say
I can't
yes.
remember where Kalman, the guy, was from.
But
I'll look it up.
he was fantastic last weekend, albeit, against the Cincinnati Bengals defense that is, up there in the worst in the league with Dallas, Washington, and New
The
York.
only other defense that is worse against the run is the Cincinnati Bengals. They're fucking
Bengals.
terrible.
So it's going to be tough, and it's crazy because
Kalman, the guy, put up 176 last week.
yeah.
Ew.
Yeah, so now you got two guys, and it's the edges too,
was
which
Rutgers.
is what kills Washington. So I know all about stopping the edge rush, and when you have a guy like DeAndre Swift, who is not the guy you typically think about running in between the tackles, you look at him more of an outside, space runner. And that's the guy that's going to worry the New York Giants too. So it's tough. Do you stack the box? Now you're worried about the back end of that defense for the New York Giants, right? Like Caleb Williams attacking that. There's some interesting things here about the Chicago Bears defense, though. This is what I'm going to talk a little bit about. They're really good in certain areas, but they're also really bad. They allow the highest passing touchdown percentage rate in the NFL at 8.3%. So 8.3% of the opposing team's passes are ending up as touchdowns against the Chicago Bears. So Jackson Dart, this might be, I talked about last week, we need a legacy game from you. I don't know. That's the problem. I look at the Giants and I'm like, there's so many times over the years we looked at the Giants and we're like, 12 points, 13 points, 14 points, right? They're scoring points now.
They're scoring a lot of points now.
But
Jackson Dart moves the needle as far as the points per game in a major way.
The defense is not holding up their end of the bargain. And you talked about, the number 2 rushing offense versus the number 2 worst rushing defense here for the Bears and the Giants, right? You're talking also about the 2 worst scoring defenses. 2 of the worst scoring defenses in the National Football League. The Chicago Bears are 4th. They allow the 4th most points per game at 28.4. The New York Giants allow the 5th most points per game at 22.7, right? So you think, okay, the Giants are going to have to find a way to run the ball. I don't know.
That's such an interesting number right there because the Bears have won some impressive games. They're scoring points. Giants are scoring points as well. Both defenses struggling as far as points per game. But the record column for the New York Giants stands out to be completely
different, right? The Bears have had a lot of Washington-esque bounces, right?
Yeah.
Their way. Okay?
2 games they won by 1 point. Then, they beat the Bengals here last week by 5 points. So they are winning close games. Giants
and I mean, that was a crazy ending. They should have lost that game, to be perfectly honest with you. But, the Loveland touchdown, you had 2 Cincinnati Bengals guys. The Bengals defense is a mess. And what they do, they went away and traded a linebacker to the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Make that make sense. But it's difficult because Singletary got more touches last week than Tyrone Tracy.
Yep.
But we're talking about 13 carries by running backs last week for the New York Giants. 13
and half the yards came from Jackson Dart, basically. I mean, it was Jackson Dart and Devin Singletary, basically.
Yeah, you have 0 100-yard rushers from the
all
New
year
York
long.
Giants.
98 yards from Cam Scatterby was the closest.
Yep. No running back outside of Cam Scatterby has topped 45 yards rushing this season. So they have to find a way to be able to run the ball because eventually it's just going to become too much for Jackson Dart. Both of these teams are bottom 10 in red zone offense. Okay? Both of them.
Yeah.
The big difference
Giants
here
are
is
surging in the different direction, though,
yeah,
since,
they have
since
been,
Dart.
but a lot of that was also number-wise with Dart and Scatterby. It's a little bit different with just Dart.
Still very effective. Even last week, very, very effective in the red zone.
The problem for the Giants' red zone is on the flip side. They have the second worst red zone defense in the National Football League. They're allowing opponents 70% conversion rate in the red zone right now. One thing that the Chicago Bears offense does struggle in, and this is going to have to be a turning point for the New York Giants, because this is once again relying on this defense, which we thought would be the strong suit for the New York Giants in the beginning of this year, right? Well, at least I speak for myself, but I think most people thought
everyone did. I think everybody across the NFL community, because the Giants didn't make any adjustments to the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and so the Chicago Bears have the 5th worst third down percentage offensively in the National Football League. They're only converting 34.2% on third down. So that's your key right there for the New York Giants defense. You got to do that something on third down. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the turnover differential, because I was flat out shocked at these numbers.
Yeah, they're
because
crazy.
Jacksonville was so far ahead of everybody at one point in turnover differential and interceptions, and now Chicago has the most interceptions in the National Football League with 13. And they have the number 1 turnover differential at plus 13. Now, a lot of that obviously is defense, because you think about that 13 turnovers, the interceptions by themselves, not even including fumbles.
Yeah.
But it also shows that Caleb Williams is protecting the ball. Also, Jackson Dart, has done a good job at that so far at protecting the ball. So that's kind of like that little third down nugget for Chicago Bears, how bad they are on third down offensively, and the turnover differential. Those are going to be two things I think that could be, because I also believe this game is going to be close. Those are the two things that's going to make or break who wins and who loses this game, in my opinion.
I'm right there with you, and we didn't even discuss this pre-show, but talking about red zone, third down, and talking about turnover differential, we're so aligned, it's kind of ridiculous, because the Bears defense is basically an average defense outside of the takeaways. This comes from Giants Wire. Big shout out to Giants Wire. The Bears have allowed the 12th most yards, the 4th highest completion percentage, and the 3rd most passing touchdowns of the year. But the Bears lead the NFL in takeaways, as you just described. And in every win this year, the Bears defense has forced, this is fucking crazy, at least 3 turnovers in every win this year.
That's crazy.
You look at the Cincinnati Bengals game, they forced 2 interceptions and a fumble. Against the Saints, they forced 3 interceptions and a fumble. Against Washington, they forced an interception and 2 fumbles. Against the Raiders, they forced 3 interceptions and 1 fumble, and the same thing goes for the game against the Dallas Cowboys, 3 interceptions and 1 fumble. That's 18 takeaways in 5 games. That's the majority of their work right there.
That's more. That's way more, like probably quadruple the amounts that Washington has had all season.
The Giants, I think, they have 6 takeaways on the year, 4 interceptions and 2 forced fumbles on the year. I think that's it. So it's definitely 3 times us as well. Now, 3 turnovers in every win, but in every loss this year, the Bears offense has had at least 1 turnover. So in my opinion, the Giants got to come out here and they got to find a way to force a turnover. And I think it'll be more important to play mistake-free on offense than it will be to rely on the Chicago Bears to either turn the ball over or rely on the New York Giants to go flawless in this game. You have to just try to play mistake-free football as best as you possibly can. Jackson Dart has an interception in just 2 of his 6 starts so far. His turnover-worthy play rate is just 2.6%, which is top 10 in the NFL right now. The Giants got to clean up the drops. The drops last week, I won't say it was the difference, but it was the difference in the New York Giants actually being in that game against the San Francisco 49ers rather than basically being blown out in that game. 5th in drop pass rate this season, the New York Giants are. They're dropping 7.6% of their passing attempts.
That's awful.
It's absolutely awful. Now, both of these teams like to play man coverage a ton. The Bears play man coverage at the 4th highest rate. The Giants play man coverage at the 3rd highest rate. But the explosive plays, and the reason why I set up the explosive plays category with the man-to-man stuff is because when you're playing man-to-man, you're going to have those opportunities. As the offense going up against man-to-man, you should be able to see a couple of situations where we're talking one-on-one, where Jackson Dart should be able to try to exploit some of these opportunities. When you talk about explosive plays, the New York Giants, they're 16th in explosive pass plays of over 20 yards this year. They have 25 of those, which is very surprising. Wan'Dale Robinson has a ton of explosive receptions this year. They're 8th in explosive pass plays over 40 yards with 5, and they're 13th in explosive run plays over 10 yards with 26. So The Giants are an explosive offense, and that is fucking crazy considering no Malik Neighbors, no Cam Scatterbo. Jackson Dart is literally out here throwing the ball to God knows who because Darius Slayton's not making plays. It's the Chris Browns of the world and the, as my dogs in my group chat like to say, Wan'Dale Robinson. He's out there making a few plays, and obviously they're exploiting 12 and 13 personnel a ton and targeting the tight ends a lot. Theo Johnson, he's been catching a lot of touchdowns. I want to say he got his 5th touchdown last week. But we got to find a way to clean up those drops. And they're egregious drops. They're drops that we were seeing on Saturdays in the intramural football league where you're just like, bro, I get it, okay? I know you work the bar during the week. I don't expect you to catch the ball like that. But Theo Johnson is a professional football player. The Chicago Bears, on the other hand, they're 6th in explosive pass plays of 20 or more yards. They have 30. They're 8th in explosive pass plays of 40 or more yards. They have 5, tied with the New York Giants. And they're 1st in explosive run plays with 39 of those motherfuckers this year, and that's over 10 yards. So Giants got to find a way to limit the explosive plays. Now, I think that there's an opening for the Giants to be able to get those explosive plays, and we all know that if you get just one singular explosive play on one singular drive, it is 10 times more likely to end that drive in a touchdown. The Bears' defense, I know it was a barn burner last week, but their defense last week allowed 10 receptions over 20 yards in one game. It was the most in the NFL in week 9. I think that there's an opening here. I know that the Chicago Bears are going to go back to the drawing board and try to clean up some of those deficiencies. But I think with the combination of Jackson Dart's legs and the combination of what he can do, keeping his eyes down the field, there should be opportunity for some explosive plays, at least in the passing game. Now, you got to establish the run. The Beard talked about it. Y'all know what it is over here. It's RTDB all damn day long. And he talked about how the New York Giants rushing attack has basically been struggling, and last week it was just Devin Singletary. Tyrone Tracy, 14 straight games under 60 rushing yards. We have to clean that up, my dog. I don't care if you're getting 10 carries.
How are you still running back in the NFL? You're trying to tell me that they're listen, I don't want to get too off into GM talk, right?
Yeah.
But what are we doing?
I had no answer for you.
What are we doing here? You're telling me, like, we literally pick running backs off of, like, the 6th, 7th round out of, like, North Louisiana State who can go out and run 400 yards in a game? Yeah. What are we doing?
What are we doing here? I honestly don't know. I know that there's been a lack of a commitment to the rushing attempts, but at the same time, 14 in a row is unacceptable. He hasn't had a game over 60 yards since we released Daniel Jones. And for a second there, I thought it was because of the dual threat quarterback. And then Jackson Dart comes in the lineup, and this guy's still not getting yards. But he's also not getting opportunities because he's not capitalizing on those opportunities. You talked about Devin Singletary last week, 8 for 43 yards, 5.4 yards per carry.
Not bad.
I think he's going to be the guy this game. I truly think that. I think that Tyrone Tracy's going to take a back seat.
He's a better third down back than he is. And when I say that as – he's not a RB1, right? I'm not necessarily saying he's like your short yard back or your passing down back, but he's an RB2. He performs better
that's what
that
it's
way.
looking like. And I'm guilty of, at least within our team, labeling Tyrone Tracy running back 1 a little bit too early. And I know fans kind of fell for it a little bit even tougher than I did, to be honest, thinking that Tyrone Tracy was a hit in the draft in 2024, but it's not looking like that. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, he's dealing with a shoulder injury. Maybe that's kind of in the way. But I want to see more play action. I want to see more RPO. I want to see us use Jackson Dart's legs safely. You know, he was dealing with the injury at the end of the game last week. He has had at least 50 rushing yards in 4 of his 6 starts. So we if we want a chance at winning this game, Jackson Dart's going to have to run the ball a little bit, especially if our running game is not clicking. And it's interesting that the Giants aren't running a lot of play action because we're taking out of that Lane Kiffin bag from Ole Miss to kind of take some of the things from their passing attack to implement in the NFL with Jackson Dart, but we're not taking the play action, which is something that they used a ton at Ole Miss. Right now, the Giants are running play action on just 13% of their plays. It's 28th in the NFL. I don't understand how you have a rookie under center and you're not utilizing more play action, especially with a guy that clearly has shown that he can buy time with his legs and he can do a lot while running the ball as a ball carrier as well. 28th is just not good enough for me. And New York has the lowest pre-snap motion rate in the NFL right now at 36%. So all the creativity that I've been praising Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka for having with all the injuries, at the same time, maybe they are simplifying the New York Giants offense a little bit because they don't necessarily have experienced personnel out there, with Darius Slayton really being the only veteran weapon that we have on the offensive side of the ball. But there's an opening against play action or utilizing play action this week. The Bears defense have allowed successful plays 64% of the time against play action this season. It's worse than the NFL by 15%. So there's an opening right there. Last but not least, special teams and field position. Give me a kicker that is going to be able to swing his leg and give us an attempt at making extra points and making kicks. A high percentage of those kicks, most importantly.
The swinging the leg part is the best part.
Bro, like, I mean, what do we got to do to just iron that out? And I've been giving them, a few excuses every week by saying that once you start the year off with the issue at the kicker position, it's not easy to kind of iron out those deficiencies during the year. You can speak to that.
Yes,
Seattle Beard said, no, absolutely not. So I get that. Now the Bears have started just 14 drives all year long inside their own 20-yard line this season. Number 1 in the NFL. So the kicking game, the kickoff game is going to be important, and also the kicking game as far as trying to score points is absolutely going to be important. And just 5 drives inside their own 20-yard line in the first half, which is also fewest in the NFL. Go out there, get yourselves an early lead. We know that Jackson Dart can score on the opening drive. That's important. But we also got to find a way to score on the second, third, fourth consecutive drives as well. Jackson Dart and Patrick Mahomes are the only quarterbacks since 1991 to lead their team to an opening touchdown drive in each of their first 3 career games. So Jackson Dart's getting it done on the first drive. We've seen it, and I think he had his 4th one last week. But after getting that opening touchdown on the opening drive last week against the San Francisco 49ers, the Giants went 7 straight drives without a touchdown.
Yeah.
They missed a field goal within that, and they made a field goal within that, and then they had 5 punts as well. The Bears have been solid in the second half. The adjustments at halftime, and as me and the Beard always talk about, the adjustments from down to down, from series to series, from quarter to quarter are going to be important as well. But the Bears have been solid in the second half. The Bears have averaged 8.1 yards per play in the second half since week 6. That's second best in the NFL. For me, it's basically a simple formula, but not an easy formula. The offense is going to be on the shoulders of Jackson Dart again. I don't even want to focus on the offense, to be honest. Go out there and score the amount of points that you've been scoring over the last couple of weeks, and I think we'll have a shot in this game. If you can't stop the run, do not expect to win this game. Brian Burns talked to the media this week. He said, I'm sick and tired of talking about the run, the statistics, all that shit. We got to go out there and just be better. So you got to find a way to stop the run going up against the second best rushing offense in the league. Unless you can force some turnovers. If you can force some turnovers and flip field of position, then that could possibly change things with stopping the run. But I think establishing our run is going to be even more important than stopping their run. Just find a way. Just find a way to get some balance in that. RTDB, STDR. And then I think most importantly, get after Caleb Williams, make him uncomfortable in this game. And I think the Giants will have a shot at winning this one. I'll reserve my score until I hear from you. You can round it out and let me know what you're thinking as far as your score prediction in this one.
Well, before I give you my score, I did turn around and speak to the stat department. Washington Commanders and New York Giants tied for second fewest forced turnovers in the NFL with 6.
I thought it was 6. Terrible.
It's so bad.
Terrible.
Listen, I want to pick the Giants to win this game, right? I really do. And as we talk through the game, I see the way to do it. Chicago's playing pretty good ball, and this is the difference. Chicago got the luck that we don't got. Washington, New York. I know you guys got a little excited there. You thought I was saying we like I was a New York Giant fan, okay? But I was throwing in the Commanders with the Giants in this situation. We're lacking that luck right now. I think the Chicago Bears hold on to in a close game, though, 27-24.
27-24. I like that. I like the score. I do think it's going to be a close game. This one is a bit puzzling. And last week, I had picked the New York Giants to beat the San Francisco 49ers with the asterisks of they would have to play to their strengths and play to their best capability. They obviously didn't do that in that game. I'm just briefly taking a look at the schedule here and seeing the games that I thought the Giants could win this year. The Saints was one of them, and we didn't win that game, but we got our get back against the Philadelphia Eagles the following week. I picked this game as one of the games where I thought the Giants were going to be able to win this game at the beginning of the year. So I think I'm going to stick with the script because there's not a lot of victories left on our schedule here. And I said 6 wins. We're sitting at 2. This is a must-win game, man. You got to go out there. And honestly, if Shane Bowen does not get this defense in order against the run, I think this could be the last game you see from Shane Bowen as the defensive coordinator for the New York Giants. So if the Giants come out here and they allow the Bears to gash us for, I'll set the over-under at 170. And that's very generous to Shane Bowen in that rush defense. If the Bears rush for over 170 yards, I don't think we're going to see Shane Bowen back in the New York Giants facility come Monday. But I'm going to pick the New York Giants to win this game in a close one. I'll stick with your score there, 27-24, but I'll take it in favor of my New York Giants one time. And cross my fingers, hopefully they can get this W, man, because it's been tough. It's definitely been tough. Before we go off into the matchup with the Commanders here against the Detroit Lions, we got to tap in with the Super Chats one time. A bunch of them piled up here, man. Shout out to the gang. We appreciate y'all helping us raise the bar one time over here on Authentic in the Beard.
Big shout out to Dean with the 1999. 99. Good year. What do you guys think about this report that Shane could stay?
Good year.
I don't see the logic. If he stays and you don't extend him, why would a good coach come here? If you extend him, that's insane because he hasn't earned it. I'll take this first because this is an easy one for me. I told you guys last year they both got to go. Last year they both got to go. It's so difficult when you're in a position of the draft in which the New York Giants were, and now you've used your draft capital on a high pick defensively and a potential, I believe, franchise quarterback. Now you're kind of in this that space that's between life and death. And it's a difficult space because it's very similar to a Daniel Jones contract, right? Where you're in that situation where it's like, what do we do if we don't sign him? You know, he just took us to the playoffs. Do we give him this money? Do we go with the bridge quarterback? So you're in this sort of weird, space, and it's difficult. So I don't have an answer for you. I don't. The easy answer here is if they continue to play the way that they're playing and the season pans out where you have 3 wins at the end of the year, you have no choice. Everybody's got to go, right? It's tough.
Three wins is definitely reasoning to fire everybody. I view it a little bit different. Definitely a little bit different than the Daniel Jones situation too, because they were trying to expedite like winning now and competing now, which that pressure is not necessarily there right now. And I do think if you would have fired Brian Daboll after last season, it would have been a bit unfair to him, in my opinion, because he had one fantastic season. One season followed that up where he kind of overachieved and won 6 wins with Tommy DeVito and company. And then he came back in 2024 and he had a pretty shitty year with just 3 victories. Love the situation here with Jackson Dart on the rookie contract. It does not mean that you need to bring back this coach or bring back this general manager. But I said this the other day and I'm going to stick by this. If you do decide to bring back Joe Schoen, there is no reason to fire Brian Daboll. Bring them both back, allow them to get through the 5th year of the contract, and if the results are the same, then fire them both at the end of the year and bring in your new general manager, your new head coach, along with his entire his new entire coaching staff. But if you're going to go the route of, moving on from the general manager, I think it makes more sense to move on from the head coach as well. There's no reason in splitting it up. I like the idea of Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll being a package deal, and either fire them both or keep them both for the last year of their contract. I think it's going to be a difficult decision here with John Mara, dealing with the health issues and whatnot, though. So we'll see how things pan out. But 3 wins, if we end the season at 3 wins, it's going to be looking bad for all parties involved for sure. But big shout out to Dean, man. That $20 super chat definitely goes a long way. We appreciate you helping us and supporting the channel one time.
Big shout out to the independent outsider, Mr. Dave Denton with the $4.99 says super chat. Says, can we win on the road versus the Bears? And other than Burns and Dart, who needs to stand out, step up, stand out? Maybe Shane Bowen can kick for them. He sure as hell can. Steve.
Yeah, maybe he can go out there and kick for the Giants. I'll start this one off. So, who needs to stand out besides Burns and Dart? Bobby Okereke, Tyler Nubin. Again, I encourage you guys to go look at the compilation of him versus outside run. That dude looked absolutely fucking terrible. And I truly think that he's getting a longer leash than a guy like Deonte Banks is. Deonte Banks is not playing great either, but Deonte Banks does not lack effort. So I do think that from a secondary standpoint is Tyler Nubin. We just need better play from our linebackers and just from our front four in general. And then you need somebody on the offensive side of the ball to step up. You know, whether it be Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, maybe a Ray McLeod, maybe a Devin Singletary, somebody on the offensive side of the ball is absolutely going to need to step up. As far as the kicker situation, you know how I feel about that. The Giants, it's going to be bad for the remainder of the season, if you ask me. It's not going to be good, I'll tell you that much.
I will say, yes, you can win on the road. Who needs to stand out besides Burns and Dart?
And the road thing, real quick, Beard, they're 0-9 on the road. They're on a 9-game losing streak right now on the road. So that is important to try to win on the road for sure.
Well, it's not looking good, but you can do it. You can do it. You can win on the road. I'm going to go with guys who need to stand out for the New York Giants. I'm going to go with Devin Singletary, and I'm going to go with the opposite edge. Whoever's playing the opposite edge of Brian Burns needs to have a big game. I think that those are my two picks. And I don't think you should have Shane Bowen kick field goals for you guys. I think that's a little bit difficult to call defensive plays and kick field goals at the same time. So I'm going to go with a no on that one, Big Dave. So thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Big shout out to Dave Denton one time. We appreciate you, my dog.
Big shout out to who? Timmy Foosball. Foosball for the devil. 5 pound, a 5 pound super chat. Got the 5 pound on him. Says,
pound on him.
Decorating the man cave while watching the show. This is the life. Appreciate the love at the start of the show, by the way. Giants beat the Bears 24-21.
3-point victory for Timmy Foosball as well, man. I like that. Big shout out my dog in the building, man. You already know, man. The best television show not on TV, man.
I'm assuming that's pounds. I don't think you can super chat in euros. You guys are pounds, right? Brexit. Yeah, pound. It's a 5 pound.
I think so.
Okay.
I do think so.
Big shout out to the return of the Dave, independent outsider with back-to-backers with the $4.99 super chat. Said, just heard about Marshawn Kneeland. Mental health is health, y'all. My condolences to their family. Rest in peace to Marshawn. Absolutely. As somebody who has dealt with and deals with mental health all the time, it is a very serious issue. So whenever you get a chance, check up on your dogs. All it takes is a phone call, even just a text, because you never know what people are dealing with. Not everybody puts everything out in the open. So definitely check on those when you can.
Very well said, man. And rest in peace to Marshawn Kneeland. Just devastating news, man. And as the Beard said, you just never know what people got going on in their lives. A lot of people are going to keep things tight to vest. And this one is just so unfortunate. Only 24 years old, man. May he rest in peace.
Just scored a touchdown on Monday night.
Yeah, man. Just played on Monday. It's crazy, man.
Yeah,
that's how fast things come at you in this world, in this life, man. It's definitely unfortunate.
Yep. Big shout out to Off Broadway 369 with the $2 super chat. Says Nubin, this one got me. I read this in the chat earlier. Nubin was out there looking like Lonnie Rott. Sounds like a Garbage Pail Kid name.
So when Off Broadway put that in the comment section on on that video, somebody commented, Ronnie Lott was one of the best safeties ever. And I was like, bro, he got me too, man. Reread it again. That shit said Lonnie Rott. Very different, man. Big shout out my dog Off Broadway one time, man, helping us raise the bar over here.
Big shout out to B-Rock with a $10 super chat. Says the Giants keep setting historic inferiority records. I read that like a G, by the way. Inferiority records. I am thinking that trend continues in some way. If the Giants could end the game with negative points, I bet they could do it. No faith. I will tell you, there's a I don't know if it's negative. I think there's a possible way for a team to only score 1 point or negative points. It's a very weird football thing, but it is possible.
I'm trying to think. How would the 1 point be? Would that be on a 2-point conversion?
It's really weird how it can happen, but it can happen. So just you never know.
No explanation from the Beard. Just it's really weird.
I'll ask ChatGPT later.
I would imagine a returned 2-point conversion, but I don't know. That might give you 2.
No,
I don't
it's
know.
something. We'll give you two. It's something very weird that has only happened like once in the history of football over all the years.
We're gonna have to look that up. You know how we do over here. We have to support our
Research,
stance.
research department is on it. Don't
Research
worry.
Department is definitely on it. Big shout out, B-Rog, man. Appreciate you helping us raise the bar over here, my dog.
Big shout out to Kelvin Zoo with a $19.99 super chat. Great year. Something that Knicks Fan TV, KFTV, does is have a Discord full of members of their community paid. Call in for about a minute or two. Do you think that's something you gents could add in the future? Already a great channel. Listen, you can never. This is one thing about Authentic and the Beard. You never know. You just never know, right? We've never been the same. We haven't been the same since year 1 to year 2, year 2 to year 3, and it always changes.
Very
so
true.
everything is always on the table. So yeah, and I enjoy talking with people because I think it's a good opportunity to have that interaction with the people that listen to you, and sometimes you might be able to change people's minds, and sometimes those people might be able to change yours. So
I've thought about doing something like this before, but I remember when Entertainer was doing these call-in shows, man. You had some weirdo creeps calling in, with their dick hanging out and crazy shit. And
that's
I don't know
a
if I can deal
problem.
with that. That's a major problem.
We would have to hire a new department, a phone screening department, who would screen the callers beforehand. Maybe we can get you guys to leave messages or something, and we can bring the messages on, and that way we can eliminate any sort of.
I like the real-time
tomfoolery.
engagement. It's very different
It is
than
different.
a voicemail. Talking to a friend is a lot different than getting a voicemail from a friend.
When was the last time you left a voicemail?
At least a decade. When I get voicemails left for me, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you leaving me a voicemail, bro?
The only person I leave voicemails to is Alvie C, because that guy hasn't called me back in 3 weeks.
He's
So,
terrible. He's
that's-
terrible.
What are we doing here?
Shout out to our Sandbox homies, man. They're the greatest, man. Shout out to Kelvin Arsu, though, for helping us raise the bar, yo.
Shout out to B-Rog with $20 super chat. Dropping a dub. B-Rog was running a motion and play action in high school and semi-pro. We need to take some risks, no? Maybe it pays off. I would like to see a shot on 2nd and 1. We're not talking about alcohol shots. We're talking about shots down the field.
Hey, we're not talking about 50 Cent type shots either.
No. They are few and far between. I agree with you, B-Rog. At 3 and 7, listen, it should all be on the table.
Don't give us an extra win.
Oh, you're 2 and 7.
Yeah, we're 2 and 7. Your shit is right. And big shout out, B-Rog helping us raise the bar, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. I know y'all having some great discussions in there one time. We're going to keep it pushing and get moving to this Lions game one time. They're traveling to Northwest Field here in the DMV to take on the Washington Commanders.
We're not there yet, and that's why I think in the early part of the season that identity is formed not by what's called, but how you play. And I'm watching the how a lot.
I should tell you right now, there's a realistic chance that Jaden Daniels will not play again this season.
All right, Beard. Detroit Lions sitting at 5-3. A couple impressive victories this year for them. A couple of mediocre ones. Commanders sitting at 3-6. Kickoff is Sunday at 4:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I got the Lions by 8 right now.
8.5, I think, last I saw.
8.5
on the
at
road.
home. That's not good for your Commanders. Over under 49.5. Last week, Commanders got blown out by the Seattle Seahawks, 38-14. Coming off their bye, the Lions lost to the Vikings last week, 27-24. That was a good game all the way down to the end. J.J. McCarthy definitely, getting his feet wet, I'll say. Last meeting, the Commanders beat the Lions in the divisional round of the playoffs, 45-31. God, 76 points? That's a shit ton of points.
That was a great moment.
That was a solid moment for you guys. I remember I was at Patrick's Bar for that game. The Commanders fan base was going wild. The Lions did beat the Commanders in the 2022 regular season 36-27, so they do have the advantage in the last regular season matchup. Commanders currently on a 4-game losing streak right now. Washington has not had a 4-game losing streak since the end of 2023, where they lost their last 8 games of the season. That's all pre-Jaden Daniels. The Lions have lost 2 of their last 3 games, so maybe there is a little bit of an opening here. Before that, the Lions were on a 4-game winning streak. The injuries, man, we keep saying this week in and week out. Washington Commanders right now got a bunch of dudes on IR, from Marshawn Lattimore with the ACL, Luke McCaffrey now with the collarbone, Noah Brown been on IR with the groin and the knee, Dietrich Wise Jr. with the torn quad, Javonte Jean-Baptiste, shout out to my Zoes one time. He's sitting on the IR with the torn pec. Dorrance Armstrong been out of the lineup for a long time here. Trey Amos and Johnny Newton were limited in practice this week. Von Miller and Zach Ertz, the 2 triple OGs, just not practicing this week because they just needed some rest.
They old.
So they just old.
They
right?
old.
They just old right now. But Lermy Tunsil, Terry McLaurin, Quan Martin, and most importantly, Jaden Daniels did not practice this past week. And Washington Commanders are going to be adding wide receiver Treylon Burks and defensive tackle Sheldon Day to the active roster for this Week 10 matchup against the Detroit Lions. I think there's an opening here, especially if you guys were healthy, especially at the quarterback position. I felt like there would be an opening here because Detroit's offense has been very different without Ben Johnson. And Johnny Morton is in his first season as the Lions offensive coordinator. The Lions are still scoring a ton of points. They're second in the NFL in points per game, 29.9 points. Still effective in the red zone, 6th best. Still running the ball really well, 125 yards per game on the ground. That's 9th in the NFL. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery are combined for 11 touchdowns on the ground as well. And Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, has 1 or 2 receiving touchdowns as well on the year. Jared Goff playing really, really sound football, 17 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Haven't heard any MVP talk about Jared Goff, though. That's kind of interesting. It's kind of weird with that kind of stat line there.
They always hate on the Jared Meister.
They really do. I think it's because he's got a vanilla style of play. But the difference this year with the Detroit Lions offense is third down. It's absolutely been the biggest difference. The Lions offense has converted on just 36.2% of their third downs. That's 25th in the NFL. And under Johnny Morton as the offensive coordinator, the Lions have thrown the ball 63% of the time on 3rd and short this season, which is second highest in the NFL. So there's definitely a discrepancy of the way that they're approaching 3rd and short from last year to this year. And on 3rd and long, they have struggled. I mean, like, that's maybe an understatement. On 3rd and 10 or more, the Lions have a conversion rate of 4%. It's dead last in the NFL right now.
That doesn't even seem real.
It doesn't seem real. Entering Week 9, the Lions were 1 for 24 on 3rd and 9 or more. That's dead last in the NFL. In 2024, the Lions were 7th best on 3rd and long. So that is the discrepancy within that offense. Washington, on the other hand, has the 21st ranked third down defense in the league. I mean, I think there's a bit of an opening here, but your defense just is not
good.
Not good. That's basically it. And for Detroit, the explosive plays is the other category where they're kind of struggling a little bit. They have some guys that are taking a back seat as far as explosive plays go that really shouldn't be, but the Lions are still getting their explosive plays on the ground. They're tied for the 3rd most explosive runs over 10 yards, but they're lacking explosives in their passing game. Last season, the Lions had the 3rd most explosive pass plays in the NFL with 62 on the season. This season, they are 16th in explosive pass plays, so they're cut in half. Jameson Williams is the biggest non-difference maker, I'll say, so far. He has just 6 receptions over 20 yards this season, which is 44th amongst all, what's the word I'm looking for? Like viable candidates for explosive receptions. He's 44th right now. Williams has less, or he has, as far as 20-plus yard receptions, he has less than Amon-Ra St. Brown, which is weird, but the same amount as Sam Laporta, which is not weird. It's alarming, if you ask me. Last season, he had 17 receptions over 20 yards. It was the 12th most in the National Football League, and now he's sitting at 44. So I do think that if Washington wants to stay in this game, continue to limit the explosive plays from the Detroit Lions offense. But there's going to be obviously other mountains to climb when we're talking about stopping the Detroit Lions offense. I think that emphasis on tackling this game is going to be extremely important too. The Commanders, they're allowing the 2nd most yards after the catch of any team in the NFL right now. So this is going to be a puzzling matchup because I do envision the Commanders are going to have to stack the box against the Detroit Lions. Teams are stacking the box against Detroit on 34.8% of their runs, 4th highest rate in the National Football League. So it's going to place extra responsibility on a secondary that's already banged up. Trey Amos, limited in practice. Lattimore out for the year. I don't know where you're going to get the coverage from in this game, but I do expect the Commanders to at least, I don't know about stack the box with 8, but at least approach it with some extra guys in the box, at least a little bit. And then I think it's important to not overlook field position in this game, too. The Lions have started 16 drives inside the opposing territory this season. That's the most in the NFL. So you want to be able to have good balance when it comes to field position. I just think if you guys had your quarterback in this game, and obviously Terry McLaurin, if he was healthy on this season, then this game would be a lot closer and possibly be a game where I'd be leaning towards the Washington Commanders winning this game. Beard, I know you're not feeling optimistic, but how you viewing this matchup against the Detroit Lions?
There's some opportunities, they're knocking, and it starts in the trenches, okay? Detroit Lions are a little banged up, too. Both of their tackles did not practice yesterday. So Decker and Penny Sewell are both non-participants in practice, so that could be an opportunity here. Detroit, though, as bad as their offensive line can be, it's not that it has been bad, but it can be at times. We've seen it throughout the season. And as much of a non-mobile quarterback as Jared Goff is, they've allowed the 13 fewest sacks in the NFL this year. Washington has the 12th most sacks this year with 22. You talked about Detroit and their ability to run the ball. They're 9th in rushing, 125.1 yards per game. Detroit Lions have 3 losses on the season. Every single one of those losses, as a team, they ran for under 100 yards in those games. Okay.
So there goes your key right there.
There goes our key. We did some calculations with the calculating department, and we put together an exact number for the roadmap.
Calculating department.
Stick around for that exact number. The big difference here is Washington's they have the 11th worst rushing defense in the National Football League. They're allowing 124.2 yards per game. They have the 4th worst passing defense. Right? They're giving up 253.6 yards per game. Detroit, on the opposite side of that, they're 12th in passing, 225.6 yards per game. It's interesting because you talked about field position. And I've been telling you guys about how damn good Luke McCaffrey has been at returning kicks. I've been telling you guys about how good this special teams is outside of the person that matters the most in special teams, the guy who kicks the field goals and extra points, But we were number 1 in the NFL in starting field position with Luke McCaffrey. Number 1 in kick returns, averaging 29.9 yards per kick return. Okay, so Luke McCaffrey, he's joining the rest of the guys in the infirmary. Okay, where he's on the eye, he's done, cooked, out for the year. No more Luke. Okay, there's no Skywalker coming back from the kickoff return. So we got to find a way to continue the field position because we haven't been really good about drives. We allow defensively too. We allow the 9th longest average time per drive. Opponents are averaging 3 minutes and 4 seconds per drive against this Washington Commanders defense.
And the rush defense was 11th worst, so that's definitely taken its toll as far as time of possession goes. Yeah.
And listen, and offensively, we third down, you mentioned, we've been struggling. That was our bread and butter last year. The Lions defense allowed this is a crazy number. The Lions defense allows the 2nd fewest plays per drive on average. Opponents are averaging against the Detroit Lions defense 5.3 plays per drive.
That's crazy.
5.3.
That's third best, you said? Is that what you said?
No, that is second best.
Second best. Yeah.
Second best. So
that's incredible. 5 plays, that's incredible.
Per drive.
Yeah, it's basically a first down and some change, and then punt us the ball. We'll take care of it.
And on the flip side of that, I talk about this week in and week out with the Washington Commanders. This is the big difference. They're running the ball, and we talked about this when we opened up the show about Brian Robinson, how it might not have been pretty, it might not have been the leading rusher in the league, but the offense ran through him. We converted on third downs. Jaden Daniels converted on third downs, the 4th down magic, right? All of that leads into time of possession. Time of possession, what does that do? It takes your weakest part of your team, which is the defense, off the field for more than your offense is on, right? That's what leads to victories. This season, the Washington Commanders are 27th in the NFL in time of possession. It's hard to win games like that.
That's y'all bread and butter. Even when y'all weren't winning games back in 2022, 2023, the bread and butter was time of possession, keeping y'all in some of these games that y'all had no business being in. I'm really thinking about games versus the Philadelphia Eagles too.
Yeah, and those are the things that, like, when you're having the luck and things going down your way, right? It's that's what kind of can mask those things.
Yeah.
But now, when things aren't going your way and you got half of your starting lineup on both sides of the ball on the IR, you can't win games if you don't, make sure that your weakest points of your team are not on the field for most of the game. Right?
Now let me ask you this, because last year your offense kind of dragged the defense, for lack of a better term, right? And scoring that many points and sustaining those drives, keeping quarterbacks on the opposing team on the sideline was really a big factor in the reason why y'all won so many games. Now, this year, you're dealing with so many injuries. And even when Jayden Daniels got back in the lineup, he was playing with players that he isn't truly accustomed to running that offense with. The question I'm kind of getting to here is, do you think that possibly it will be in the best interest of Cliff Kingsbury to maybe, kind of what I'm saying about Shane Bowen, like, get away from your DNA a little bit? Because there are a couple of numbers here that I think are a little bit alarming as far as the Washington Commanders, especially when you don't have the quarterback in the lineup right now. And I'm really leaning towards the Commanders getting back to old school football under center. That's what I'm kind of setting up here.
Yeah.
The Commanders are currently right now running 95.5% of their offense out of shotgun. It's first right now. And I just think with Marcus Mariota in, maybe there's a possibility they can slow things down. They're also running no huddle 64.6% of the time, which is first in the NFL. But the part that's alarming to me is it's more than double the rate of the next team. You guys are at 64.6% of the time running no huddle offense. So, and it's not necessarily that you guys are like in tempo all the time trying to say hike fast. You're getting to the line fast to try to diagnose what the defense is doing and then calling the play late in the play clock. But 64.6% no huddle. The next team in line is the New Orleans Saints at 23.2. The next team after that is the New York Giants, who I feel run up-tempo no huddle offense a good bit with Jackson Dart in the game. We're only running no huddle 21.8% of the time. Every team in the NFC East right now is in the top 6 for the no huddle rate. 3 of the teams in the NFC East are basically playing like dog water. I almost think that with a backup quarterback, it might make more sense for you guys to get back to just ground and pound, traditional style, hog molly type shit for the Washington Commanders. But I don't know if that's something that you could do mid-season, right? It's a big part why I don't want to fire Shane Bowen mid-season, because I know you can't change the philosophy middle season. But, like, do you think that there's maybe an opening for you guys to possibly get back to just like a more simplified offense for Marcus Mariota to get the running game back going and possibly be able to utilize a little bit more play action instead of being out of the shotgun for 95% of your snaps?
I will say, take this into the two pieces. The under center, I think, is something that they could lean more towards, right? That number is so large, right?
Yeah.
Like, even if you did like 10 more plays under center, like you'd still be at 80% shotgun, give or take, right? The up tempo, I don't think Marcus Mariota loves the up tempo offense. That's that's part of his. He plays his best game in that no huddle offense. So the no huddle offense is even though it's an alarming, I'm a big no huddle guy. So and that may be some of my biasness in that answer. I think the no huddle, you wouldn't necessarily have to change. I do think the under center may work better with Marcus Mariota. And they did run it a few times more than they have been last week. I don't know what the philosophy necessarily is behind the shotgun so much, especially with your practice squad wide receivers. I would think that you'd want to run some more, jumbo packages.
And you guys have committed to 12 and 13 personnel a little bit more. I noticed it for the first time against the Green Bay Packers on that Thursday night game where you guys ran a ton of 12 and a ton of 13 in that game as well, bringing in Bates on a lot of predictable running downs and stuff like that.
So I think that would, if I would have picked one of the two, I would say more plays under shotgun. I think you have to under shotgun, under center. I think you have to be able, in order to do that though, you have to be able to establish the run, right? And it's like weird because maybe you establish the run under center. Because what you really want to use in today's NFL, and you want to be able to utilize under the center in correlation with play action. So that's really what you want to be able to run play action, but you can't run play. You can, but it's not as effective running play action in shotgun as it is under center, right?
And then think about like quarterback boots and design stuff like that. Like you can't run boots out of shotgun.
No.
You know? So I just think it gives you guys an extra element.
I agree.
And I think could get the running backs more involved. Like I'm watching Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, a very capable running back, week in and week out. He's not like a...
He looked really bad last week, by the way.
He's a smaller running back too, right? So it's like he's not going to be like... For as small of a running back he does run between the tackles fairly decent. But yeah, he's just not able to get the steam going.
He looked indecisive. He looked hesitant at times. Like he wasn't seeing the blocking as well as he had previously. Last week was a struggle for him. And albeit Seattle's defense is really good, but it was the first time I noticed he looked like a rookie, one. And two, he looked... That his whole thing is, and what allows him to be able to run in the tackles, in between the tackles at his size, is his decisiveness, is that first step, that burst. Because if you can hit that hole at that size that fast, it allows you a little bit of room to make the next level moves that he's so good at making when he gets into that secondary level of the linebackers and into the corners and whatnot and the safeties. But last week he wasn't doing that. He was very hesitant to hit the hole quick, which I think hurt him. I'd like to see them utilize him more in the space. And maybe Chris Rodriguez and Jeremy McNichols, and I talk about this, I feel like every damn week, use those guys in between the tackles, get some more, thunder and lightning action going on. But yeah, I agree with you. I think a lot of that correlates with playing under center. So I'd be interested. I'm going to watch that, in this game a lot. I'm going to watch how much they run under center with Mariota.
There's a conversation in the chat being had about Brian Robinson and whether or not the Commanders actually miss him. And Kevin PRF said no Washington fans really miss him, but I think the beginning of the year made it much easier to overlook that when you had a healthy Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
And now it's like, man, you're running out of options. Right now, your saving grace in the running back room is a 7th-round draft pick.
You can check the receipts. The receipts are there for the Beard. And I made it clear that I hope Bill is this guy that everybody thought he was, right? There's nothing more that I want than all my guys to be successful, but I absolutely hated the trade, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't the value you got back wasn't much. And Brian Robinson, I don't know why we just keep devaluing running backs. I don't know what it is.
It pains me. And listen, and you say, do fans because fans were delusional. Fans are delusional. Let's just be honest here, okay?
Yeah.
The people were calling into the radio like Krosky-Merritt's gonna go for $2K this year. Like, I mean, people were so infatuated with him. Like, he was going to be like this like out the gate guy. And I think a lot of that had to do with because they saw they were all off the hype of last year and how we were running the ball, right? And he has shown the ability to make big runs. He has shown the ability to be a very good running back. But it's so difficult for me to have a philosophy of a run-first team, right? Which is what Washington is and should be and wants to be.
Yeah.
To rely on a 7th-round draft pick who played one game of football last year and a, aging, receiving running back in Austin Eckler, right?
I like this one right here a lot, right? B-Rob here changes nothing with our running game struggles, and I vehemently disagree with this. I'm going to tell you why.
Also.
The physicality portion of it the running backs that you have on the roster right now, none of them are going to wear down a defense. None of them. But Brian Robinson had that ability. Like you said, the numbers, they didn't stand out. I want to say Brian Robinson had like 800, maybe no more than 900 rushing yards last year. And sometimes it's more important about how you get those yards. Like, I'll never forget the breakaway run that he had against the New York Giants last year where it looked like he was just plugged up in the middle of the defense. And then all of a sudden you just see B-Rob come out of a pack of like 10 players surrounding him and pick up like a 60, 70-yard run, maybe like a 60-yard run. He didn't take it to the house, I remember. But that's the biggest part, is that you're lacking that guy that will straight up punch a defense in the teeth. There's really no other player like that on your offense, except maybe a Debo. I do think
maybe.
Debo possesses some of that in his skill
like
set as well.
I think McNichols runs really hard too. When he makes big
does.
plays, he runs very hard.
And Beard, I think, I saw somebody talking about how could you, I think it was off Broadway who was saying that how could you like commit to Austin Eckler, right? And I don't think it was necessarily committing to Austin Eckler because he is aging. I think it was just committing to Austin Eckler being the guy that could be the transition, but more importantly, the front guy for that unit. Because if you had Austin Eckler out there and your offense was moving the way that you had envisioned it was going to move, like how it did last year, he is an asset in the pass attack, and he can run between the tackles decent enough to be able to get the job done, I think. But then once he goes down, things get extremely dicey. And in my opinion, you can never have too many running backs. Like the Giants are dealing with it right now. And yeah, you look at Cam Scatterbo and the physicality that he brings to the New York Giants offense versus what a Devin Singletary or Tyrone Tracy bring. I don't care what the yardage looks like. It's that physical thing that when you get to the fourth quarter, how defenses are going to be approaching to stop your team when they've been being, ran down for the first 3 quarters of the game.
And last thing on this, because it just is so perfect with what you just said, is that this society of football watchers, this generation, this time of 2025 football watchers, they literally wanted no part to do with B-Rob because he wasn't fast enough. Right. They said that Washington needed to get faster. That's what people were saying. That's why they were ready to be done with Brian Robinson, because he couldn't do what Jahmyr Gibbs does. Right? That's what they wanted to do, right? But Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't do what Jahmyr Gibbs does without Devin Singletary. I mean,
David Montgomery.
I always do that. Without David Montgomery, right?
There's always been questions around the utilization of Jahmyr Gibbs too. Like, why don't we give him the ball 20 times a game? And that's why. He's fresh at the end of the year because they have another I don't want to use the term bell cow, but they have a bruiser in that backfield that can wear down these defenses just as well. So I do think that Washington now, and, in hindsight, I can say it more confidently, obviously, but when those injuries start to pile up, I think you guys could have absolutely used a running back like B-Rob. And we faced him last week, and, man, he just fucking ran right over Deontay Banks.
You guys, didn't he?
Yeah, he ran over Deontay Banks, and then Tyler Nubin takes a fucking shit angle. And yeah, it was just bad. I like Brian Robinson, especially to be a part of a running back by committee, which is exactly what you guys do. And then when you remove and Beard, this will be the last thing I say about this. And I'm always talking about this. If you remove away the rushing statistics from the quarterback from Washington, they don't have a good running game.
Well, it's true, and they're still third, fourth or fifth in rushing yards per game right now.
Right. And I'll do the research. I'll add it up for all their running backs to see what you guys are averaging per game from a running back standpoint, because there have been no big games. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt had that one big game. Jeremy McNichols had a pretty decent game one time this year too, and that's really about it. There has not been consistency by the running backs by committee, in my opinion, and the quarterbacks have been salvaging that by adding an extra 30 to 40, 50 yards a game.
Yeah, so without further ado, though, I am ready to provide a brief road trip that may lead to victory.
Let's get it, man. I'm looking forward to this one because I don't know how we're going to get there.
Yeah, you're getting on the freeway. What? No, turn right. Get out of the lane. No. Okay, get the procedure. Just get out the lane.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the officially sponsored by Waze Roadmap to Victory for the Washington Commanders, and it starts with the defense. I told you guys all 3 losses the Detroit Lions have had this season, they have ran the ball for under 100 yards. The exact number based on average for those 3 games is you have to hold the Detroit Lions under 70 yards rushing in order to win this game. The Detroit Lions have also failed to score a lot of points in all 3 of their victories. Given the stat department, the numbers and the algorithm has equated to hold the Detroit Lions under 21 points, and you have a chance to win this game. Now, you also have to have absolutely 0 turnovers, because if you turn the ball over, you're probably going to allow points, and that will mess up the algorithm of the victory. You cannot turn the ball over 1 time in this game. I don't care if you get 2 turnovers. You cannot turn the ball over in this game. An RTDB, I do not care, once again, who it is. Use all 3 running backs and a quarterback. You have to find a way to run the ball. You need to run the ball for at least 150 yards in order to win this game. If you do that, you will do the number 1 thing that you must do in order to win this game, and that is control the clock and win the time of possession. It's short, it's sweet, it's simple. It may not work, but the recipe is there for the roadmap to victory for the Washington Commanders against the Detroit Lions.
I like it. I like it.
brought to you by-
Consistent themes, man. Consistent themes.
I mean, listen, I did a lot of computing. The computers were Putin, okay?
And shout out to Cameron, man. It is
Shout
what
out
it is.
Cameron. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and just give you my score. Are you ready for that?
You're not picking the Commanders, I can tell.
Hell no, I'm not picking the Commanders. The Washington Commanders will lose this game by a final score of 30-20. I got Lions 30, Commanders
Good scores,
20.
man.
Washington Commanders season from hell continues.
30-20. I'm going to go 34. I like the 10-point victory. I really do. I'm going to go 34-23, though. We'll go with add a little extra point to it there one time.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about these last 2 games real quick, and we'll start off by talking about the Philadelphia Eagles in a real playoff preview here, going to Lambeau to take on the Green Bay Packers.
The Super Bowl MVP, who was phenomenal in throttling Kansas City.
No matter the situation, no matter the circumstances, no matter the adversity, whatever the case may be, he figures it out.
But Jalen Hurts, let's remember, was outstanding in that game.
What was that? I've never seen that move, and I've been watching football all my life.
Personally, myself, I've just been able to use every experience and learn from it.
All right, Beard, this one is on you for the setup one time.
Yep. So the Philadelphia Eagles, they're 5-2. They're headed to Lambeau for what some people are saying may be a NFC Championship game preview to face the Green Bay Packers, who are 5-2 uno. The over-under in this game is 44.5. Jordan Love, a.k.a. Authentic, and the Green Bay Packers are 2.5-point favorites. Authentic, tell me what you got.
Jordan Love and the beard. I'm definitely digging it. Packers are coming off a very shitty loss last week to the Carolina Panthers.
Shout out to the Panthers.
Shout out to the Panthers. More importantly, I don't know if you know about Carolina Mike. Have you seen Carolina Mike and his dance and his song going around?
No, I have not.
I recommend everybody go onto Twitter or onto Instagram, search for Carolina Mike. He is a straight up national treasure as far as a fan that every fan base needs. I almost feel like the New York Giants couldn't have a fan like this, but Carolina Mike is just an OG with a lot of audio equipment, and he's making some fucking groovy songs about the Carolina Panthers. And he had a song before they played the Green Bay Packers basically saying, like, y'all need to have hope and have faith in these Carolina Panthers, and they went out there and they got the victory. I went down a whole Carolina Mike rabbit hole. It was amazing. It was just amazing.
I
Great
might
songs.
know who you're talking about. I'm going to go
He
check.
puts his hands in his pockets and just kind of just sings his
An
songs.
older black gentleman?
Older black dude, yeah.
Yeah,
it's,
okay, I've
it's
seen that
classic content.
He's an OG.
But, like, I just think, like, this game right here is going to be very dependent on quarterback play. That's the theme, if you ask me. And Jalen Hurts has been playing fucking amazing football the last couple of weeks. Jordan Love has been playing some inconsistent football here and there, and that game against Carolina Panthers obviously is one of them. But I think that tie is really, and I said this earlier this year, that ties are normally insinuate that you ain't going nowhere, right? But I think the Packers are going somewhere. The Dallas Cowboys, on the other hand, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's looking a little dicey for them. But at 5-2-1, I think the Packers definitely are going to be in the playoffs here. The Eagles, they have won 2 in a row after losing 2 in a row. And I don't know if you remember what the sentiment was after the Philadelphia Eagles lost to the New York Giants.
Oh, I remember because I was, I had to do my annual defending of Jalen Hurts.
Some would call us Jalen Hurts homers. I saw some dudes arguing on Twitter about me. They didn't tag me in it, but they were definitely arguing about me in it. And they were basically like, dude, he'll prop up Jalen Hurts every week, but he can't give Daniel Jones his props. I'm like, all right, man, I get it. But Saquon also, I think, is going to be a big part in this game. He's coming off his best game against the New York Giants. And the Eagles are going to be well rested in this one. They, coming off their bye, Saquon did tweak the hamstring in that game against the New York Giants, but I expect him to be healthy, and they need him to be healthy. But even if he's not healthy, I think that the Philadelphia Eagles have, and we'll give this to Howie Roseman, they've done a great job in crafting a roster that when someone on that side can't make the plays, there's going to be somebody on this side that can make those plays. And this year, in the last 2 games in particular, getting back on track for them, I think that is Devonta Smith. He has been playing like the wide receiver 1 that we have labeled him for a long time over here. Last 2 games, 15 receptions for 267 yards and a touchdown. Those are some real high level, high caliber wide receiver type numbers. And I think that those results are aiding Jalen Hurts, who is just playing fantastic. They're not talking about Jalen Hurts in the MVP conversation, are they?
No, but they should. He only has 1 pick and 17 passing touchdowns and 4 rushing touchdowns.
It's been a clean year for Jalen Hurts. 15 touchdowns through the air, 1 interception. He only has 1 fumble on the year, 5 rushing touchdowns. So we're talking a player that at the halfway point has accounted for 20 total touchdowns and 2 turnovers, and he touches the ball on every play. He's had a passer rating over 105 of his 8 starts, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions versus the New York Giants before the bye, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions versus the Minnesota Vikings in Week 7. I expect him to go out here and ball out. I think the quarterback is going to be the difference, as I stated. The weapons surrounding the quarterback are important as well, too. A.J. Brown missed last week. Tucker Kraft, man. Tough one.
Our guy.
Out for the year. That's going to hurt Jordan Love's development for the year, I feel like, and getting to where he needs to get, in his, I'd say, second year, really settling in as the guy over there for the Green Bay Packers. And as the Packers are getting weaker, the Philadelphia Eagles are getting stronger. You saw the moves, before and at the trade deadline. I love bringing in Jalen Phillips from the Miami Dolphins. Yep. I thought that was a fantastic move. And then going out there and getting Jair Alexander as well a little bit before that. That should be, all benefits to their defense that needs the help. They need to get after the quarterback a little bit more. And most importantly, their secondary has been struggling this year, dealing with injuries and dealing with young guys trying to step up and take that role. I'm still going to roll with the Philadelphia Eagles in this one. I think that they are the better team, even when both teams are healthy. But at this particular moment in time, I think the Philadelphia Eagles are striding, even though a lot of people thought, that they were, falling off a couple of weeks ago. I think they're going to be back. I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles in this one. I'll go. They haven't been scoring as much as I'd like. So I'm going to go 27-21. I'll go 27-21 in favor of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Listen, you got the Green Bay Eagles and the Philadelphia Packers here, okay? They're
Green Bay Eagles?
They're basically the same team in my eyes. Okay?
I like it.
They're basically the same team in my eyes. I think outside of the Seattle Seahawks, these 2 teams are the most complete, well-rounded teams in the NFC.
Love what the Seahawks did at the deadline, too, man.
Yeah.
Love what they did. Bringing in another wide receiver to pair with Torrey Horton and JSN, beautiful.
And the thing is I love Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay's defense is not at the same level as Seattle, Green Bay, and Philadelphia. So I think that this game is going to be, when you get those 2 teams that are like that, you don't get a lot of points scored. And I don't think you're necessarily going to get a lot of turnovers either. I think you're going to get a lot of turnover on downs. in this game because I think you're going to get a lot of those going for it in close to that red zone territory and these
You
defenses
capitalize
stepping
them when
up.
you get down there and whatnot. Yeah.
So I think that's where you're going to see this game. At home, I'm going to go with Green Bay. I think Micah Parsons makes a huge play as Philadelphia is driving.
I was
going to
ask you about the defense, bro. Like,
yeah.
that could be the difference maker for the Packers with Xavier McKinney. They have a lot of firepower in that defense that could create a turnover possibly and maybe change the way that this game out.
I think
pans
Micah
out.
Parsons makes a huge play as Philadelphia is driving to tie the game, which knocks them out of field goal position, and the Packers walk away with the victory, 27-24. Also, don't forget this game does kick off at 8:16 on Monday night.
8:16. Huh.
I don't want you guys to, freak out or anything. If the
Yeah,
game has
right.
started at
Freak out.
8:15.
What
It's
movie is that?
8:16.
Oh,
okay?
Half-Baked.
Yeah, not gonna do what everybody thinks I'm gonna do. And flip out.
Yeah. Yeah,
Shout
this
out to
one-
Authentic in the Beard. One year we were Dave Chappelle and.
We should bring that back. That was a good one. We kind of been loafing the last couple of years on Halloween, but we had the Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather joint, which was real dope. Then we had that one that was real dope as well, and the pairings be real nice. I like what you said about the Eagles driving late, because the only way that happens is if the Eagles don't play to their capability in the first half, and I don't think that's going to be the case, man. I think that Jalen Hurts really, really has settled in as a leader of the Philadelphia Eagles team, and I've been kind of going down a rabbit hole of like Nick Saban content lately, like looking up documentaries, football life, and all these different things. And one thing I noticed about Jalen Hurts was when his job got taken by Tua, he didn't transfer schools, bro. Like, that is such a goated mentality to have. And honestly, I do think the same about the quarterback on the opposite side too. Like, Jordan Love is just a constant professional. You never see Jordan Love over celebrating or, doing too much. These guys are very like the true models of what a quarterback should look like in the NFL. And I do think it's going to be a close game. But yeah, so you got the Packers, I got the Philadelphia Eagles. This is going to be a nice little splitter. I can't wait to come back and talk about this one. Let's get off into this last matchup real quick against, what is this? The Las Vegas Raiders are going to be taking on the Denver Broncos on Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime.
The Las Vegas Raiders. They're 2-6.
They're terrible.
They're 2-6. They are headed to Denver, and this one threw me for a loop. The Denver Broncos are 7-2. They are 8.5-point favorites at home. The over/under is 42.5, which seems a little low, but I can understand it. Kickoff is at 8:16. Tonight on Amazon Prime. So make sure you guys don't freak out if the game is not starting at 8:15. Listen, this one is I don't know. Brock Bowers came back last week and looked absolutely amazing.
Dog.
You know,
both tight ends over there were having success last week.
Michael Mayer.
Mm-hmm.
You know where he went to school?
I do. Yeah, I do. That's why I brought him up for you.
Yeah, I went full-blown Notre Dame this week. We did slip in to the first college football playoff rankings came out, and Notre Dame is in right now.
Congratulations on that, man.
With 2 losses, so just got to win out, and we're on our way there. But listen, I don't see there is no roadmap to victory for the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos in this game, 29-13.
That sounds like a Raiders score. It really does. Like, they've been bad this year. No Patrick Surtain for the second straight week, it's looking like here. I mean, Raiders lost a close one last week. I was rooting for Geno Smith, 30-29 to the Jaguars, and the Broncos won a close one last week against the Houston Texans. So,
and we're in Denver, by the way, just so you know.
We are in Denver. Altitude is going to play its role. Broncos know how to win close games. I'll give them that. You know that I thought they were a little bit fugazi coming out of last year, obviously not beating many teams with a record over 500, but this is going to be the best defense in the league versus the 30th ranked offense in the Las Vegas Raiders. Broncos coming in with 40 sacks, leading the NFL. Geno Smith, 6th most sacked quarterback in the NFL at 21 right now.
We might see Aiden O'Connell in this game. Is he even still the backup there?
We might. I don't know if he's the backup or not, but we might see him. Geno Smith, man, it's been a tough start for him. And I always tell people don't be a prisoner of the moment, but people think that Geno Smith now, because he's having a bad year, that he's a garbage quarterback. And I don't think that's the case, but I do think he's trying to get settled in a new environment here. He has 3 games with multiple interceptions and just 2 games all season without an interception. He's dead even right now with 11 touchdowns and 11 interceptions on the year. And the Raiders just traded away one of his better weapons in Jacoby Myers to the team that just beat him by 1 point last week. Fuck, man. More pressure on Brock Bowers. More pressure on Trey Tucker. It's going to be a tough
playing
one.
wide receiver for them. Hunter Renfrow still there?
No. No. Hunter Renfrow was in Carolina last I checked.
I think you're thinking about Adam Thielen.
Nah, Hunter Renfrow was over there, I think, too. Let me think. Because he came out of retirement. I think it was Carolina. I'm not 100% sure. But this is tough, man. The Broncos sweep the Raiders last season. And before sweeping them last season, the Raiders had an 8-game winning streak against the Broncos. But this is a new era. I'm gonna take the Broncos, man. I don't see a lane that the Raiders can win this game, but I still think the Broncos are fugazi. But give me the Broncos in a pretty close victory. I'll say 24 ain't been hitting this year, dude. 24 has not hit, bro. I'm gonna go awkward. I'm gonna go 22-13 in favor of the Broncos. That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
So they just cover. You said it was 8.5?
8.5, yeah.
All right. Keep our eyes peeled for this
The
parlay,
Authentic in the
parlay
Beard
move.
official parlay. We'll be on Twitter. Follow us at Tim Walk on Water 2 at Authentic. We are probably going to remove our record from that tweet now because we have not won in a few weeks.
We've been struggling, man. We've been struggling.
But I think we're going to go something with Broncos winning, Brock Bowers catches, maybe some Bo Nix rushing yards. I think I like where that's going.
Bo Nix rushing, okay. I like it. I like it. Maybe a little R.J. Harvey. That's somebody you got to watch out for in this game. Has had 2 back-to-back performances that are exactly who I thought he could be in the NFL. So definitely looking at R.J. Harvey, putting in some damage tonight. Any last words for the chat?
Nope, no last words. I have to run to daddy duty. I love you guys. Appreciate all the love and all the support. Make sure you guys hit the thumbs up and subscribe. That's what all the kids are saying. Oh, did you see this? So you know this whole thing, right? The 6'7" the kids are doing?
Barely.
Okay. You know what? This is Major League, man.
Yeah.
You have no
You have
marbles.
no marbles, man. These kids don't know about
They
that,
don't know, man.
These,
Shout out Major League.
these kids don't even watch movies no more. These
Give me
kids
Willie
was
Mays
raised
Hayes,
on
baby.
iPads and YouTube content.
Those are my final words, by the way. You have no marbles.
Nah, but shout out to the gang, man. We appreciate y'all pulling up, rocking out with us. I see Clifton said 56-3 tonight.
Good
Gosh. B-Rog said just do the opposite if you want to win some money. Nah, but shout out to the gang, man. We appreciate y'all pulling up, rocking out with us today, man. We'll be back on, Monday for the Giant Overreaction and a busy next week. And then we got to start getting prepared for HBO Hard Knocks coming up next month. So it's going to be an interesting closeout to the
I'm
season.
excited to do that show because I didn't get to do it because it was the Giants last year. Now it's Giants.
I was saying that on the overreaction. I was like, I thought I was gonna have to do it by myself, and I forgot to mention the Beard would be here because this one is on the NFC East, which is kind of crazy.
Big shout out to B-Roll with the $2 super chats. Lots of love, always.
This B-Rock basically, was leaving the strip club and was like, hey, I'm about to dip. There go $2 more for y'all real quick. Big shout out my dog B-Rock, man. But y'all know how we end every show over here on Authentic in the Beard. Keep raising that bar. Keep living those dreams because the universe flows in Technicolor and surround sound. And a life without dreams is a life in black and white. Rest in peace to the podcast GOAT and New York legend, Combat Jack. And that is a wrap. Beard, shout out to the baby, man. You get on that daddy daycare vibes one time. I got a bunch of stuff to handle for the rest of the week here. Looking forward to seeing how the back half of the season plays out, man. I'm crossing my fingers that maybe we can get back on track and make this a little bit more of an interesting best division in football, as we call it here. But big shout out to you guys, man. Definitely couldn't be doing this without y'all. And yeah, man, enjoy the rest of y'all Thursday afternoon and enjoy y'all Thursday night football. We'll catch y'all on the flip side. Y'all be easy, man. Peace.